The Toronto Blue Jays made a surprising roster move today, and Eric Swanson has been sent down in favor of Chad Green. So we'll break that down on this episode of Jays Digest, as well as the upcoming stretch of games for the Toronto Blue Jays. Are they going to be able to right the ship? We'll have that and much more coming up next. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. And Nick, some interesting moves were made today by the Toronto Blue Jays as they sent down Eric Swanson. It's not something that we saw coming. We know that he's been struggling, and we know that maybe he could use a little bit of work down there in Buffalo, but this was not something that we were looking for. And especially with struggles of other relievers, you'd think that they would tend to keep the veteran guy and the guy who's had a track record of success in the big leagues up with the big league team, but that's not the case. So they've moved on from the time being for the time being from Eric Swanson. I'm sure he'll be back soon and in short order at that. But this is a surprising move ahead of tonight's game against the Chicago White Sox, Nick, and I don't really know what to make of it. So I'm looking for answers. I don't know if you guys in the comments section are going to be too happy about it. Maybe you are going to be happy about it, considering how Eric Swanson has pitched to open up this season. But Nick, surprising move ahead of a stretch of games that the Blue Jays must take advantage of here.
Yeah, it seemed like every time Swanson went out there, he gave up some sort of run, whether that was a home run, a bunch of doubles, whatever it was. But to see this actually happen is very surprising. Quick reminder, hit the subscribe button before you get into it if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed. But let's get right into it. Peter, yeah, today, about 40 minutes ago, as the time of recording, Chad Green is back, which is very good. He was I feel like went under the radar a little bit. He had a great stretch of games to start the season, then got hurt. A lot of fans kind of forgot about him. But Eric Swanson, option to AAA. Now, if you look at his stats this season, he's put up a 9.22 ERA. But before last outing, where he gave up another solo home run, he was starting to get things going. He had an 18 ERA at one point. And you look at his stats last year, Jays wouldn't have made the playoffs without him. Year before, with Seattle, he was great. Like, Peter, he is when at his best, one of the best relievers in the league. But I guess at some point they felt like they wanted to keep up Genesis Cabrera, Nate Pearson, all these guys. Obviously, some of them don't have options. Yeah. Instead of Eric Swanson, who has options, but has been one of the best relievers in the MLB consistency-wise for the past couple of years prior to this year.
Yeah, but we also got to remember that he didn't have a spring training because of that accident that happened to his son, and luckily he's okay, and that's the most important thing because at the end of the day, he's still a father, he's still a husband, and that's the number one priority for him. So baseball kind of got put on the back burner for him to start off the year. But with Eric Swanson, he's different than other relievers because there's no room for error. He doesn't throw 99 to 100 miles an hour. He throws 94, 95, maybe 96 if he's really feeling good that day. But because he doesn't have that high 90s fastball, that low hundreds fastball, he's got to make perfect pitches. And his location to start off this year hasn't been very good. He's been hanging his splitter. He hasn't been locating it down in the zone, and he's primarily a two-pitch guy, slider, fastball and splitter, and he mixes in the slider every now and then, but none of those pitches have really been working for him, and that's the reason why he's had such an inflated ERA and why he hasn't looked like the Eric Swanson that we've grown accustomed to. And yeah, you're right, Nick. They wouldn't have made the playoffs if it wasn't for him last year. He was arguably their most consistent reliever, even more than Jordan Romano, I'd argue. And yeah, he hasn't been good this year. There's no other way to put it. I thought he was heading on the right track. He started to have a couple of scoreless outings in succession, and he gave up the home run the other day against the White Sox. But look, I'm sure he'll be back. He's an integral part of this team, but just wasn't working out for him this year. And Chad Green was someone who was one of the more consistent, reliable relievers when both him and Jordan Romano were out in the early portion of the season. So, got to pick your poison here. I think the Jays will welcome back Chad Green with open arms, and if Genesis Cabrera keeps on struggling, I mean that would have been the guy I would have sent down in the first place because Henny Cabrera has not been given too much in terms of bullpen relief to the Jays, but there's a reason why I'm not making the decisions, and Eric Swanson is the one getting sent down to Buffalo, but I guarantee you he'll be back very soon.
Yeah, and you look at Chad Green's stats, 7 outings, 7.2 innings, 2.35 ERA. So he will definitely help the Jays. And I presume that you mentioned the command was bad. Maybe he just wants to, or maybe the team wants him to go down, get those spring training reps against in lower leverage situations, get his arm and command back is really the big thing. Get his command of the splitter back, because without the command of the splitter, when he's hanging them, he's given up, I think, way more home runs already this year than he did his entire outing or his entire season last year. So he needs to get himself figured out, and hopefully the minors will help him do that. But Peter, it is good that Chad Green is back. He'll be a very valuable asset. But you're looking into tonight now, which is the game that starts in about an hour and a half. Again, similar lineup. Springer's down in the 7 spot. He had a great performance there yesterday. I mean, quite frankly, the Jays need to win this game. You look at their current position in the standings. They are a game and a half now back in the Tampa Bay Rays game to game there. But the Jays, quite frankly, like I keep saying, they need to get it going. They need to get it going fast. And, I mean, they got to win this game. They have to keep winning games. There's not many games they can lose at this point if they want to make a run for the playoffs.
And I saw a tweet today that said that they need to play at a
Yeah.
97 win pace in order to reach the 89 win total that they had last year. So it's going to be tough. And yeah, there's not many games that they can afford to drop at this point of the season. And we're a third of the way through. It doesn't feel that way, Nick, but they've played quite a lot of baseball here. They're over 60 games. So there's not much runway anymore. There isn't. So you got to go out there and get results if you're the Jays. And I want to highlight one quick player here. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. I want to give him a lot of credit for the way that he's played recently. I really think he's ran away with that starting third baseman job. And that's why we've seen Ernie Clement's playing time go down. We've seen Kevin Biggio's playing time go down. I've really been impressed from what I've seen with IKF. He's been one of the best hitters on the team in the recent stretch here. And not only is he hitting for average, he's hitting for power as well.
Yeah.
Especially in that Detroit series, where we don't really want to revisit that, where they lost 3 out of 4 games, but he was hitting home runs, doubles, and he was getting on base and being a nightmare for the opposing pitchers. So I've loved what I've seen out of him. His defense, steady as ever. We know that he won a Gold Glove at third base with the Texas Rangers, so he's solid there defensively. You know what you're getting out of him, but the offense was the big question mark with him, and he's been really good. So in the slew of negativity that we've had with the Blue Jays, Nick, it's been all negative, negative, negative. They don't look good. They're going to sell at the deadline, whatever, whatever. IKF, his contract has aged pretty nicely so far. So I want to give him credit for the way that he's played and his veteran leadership on this team. He's one of the most important players on this team, which sucks to say because he's not an elite player. You wish that you would get more out of your quote unquote elite guys, but IKF has been a really nice surprise so far this season, and I'm very impressed with him, and hopefully he can keep it going in this series.
Yeah, the power has been the big thing for him. Usually he hits for an okay average, but hitting his man, I think something like 7 home runs now, whatever it is, 4 or 7. He has a 1.5 B WAR now, which is a lot better.
It's definitely not
It's
seven.
probably 4.
I
I
can
think it's
guarantee
4.
I can guarantee you it's not 7.
Whatever it is, 4
But
home runs. He's been killing it.
it's a decent total on this team. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, and it's a decent total. Yeah, especially at a team where the Jays are just been really bad. And IKF has been one of the best WAR players on the Jays as well, which if you're coming into the season you told me that, I would call you crazy. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know what your thoughts are on the very interesting move of sending down Eric Swanson. If you want to check out a video from yesterday, click on your screen now. See you tomorrow.